I need to be validated. I need to be validated sexually by you, Jeremy.
And and for a second, you looked like you were cryogenically frozen. And yeah,
are you okay?
I don't feel well. I think 10 months is about as long as anyone should spend alone.
Spend what?
Alone.
Alone in what? In what way?
Without contact, basically.
Yeah. It's a long story. I was supposed to be married by now, but my significant other and I got stuck on different continents because of the coronavirus. And I wound up, kind of when the musical chairs stopped, I wound up someplace where I don't know anybody. The weather's perfect, but I don't know a soul here. And obviously, no one's going out and making friends right now. So I'm having just the weirdest symptoms. Like I've never really liked humans all that much. I mean, it's not that I don't like reading books about them. It's just I feel uncomfortable in their presence unless they're familiar.
Well, you got tested, so you're not worried about that stupid virus that's going around, right?
No. I think it's just my ulcer.
Okay,
just my ulcer. I could start bleeding. I could start vomiting blood at any minute. It's just my ulcer, but I don't have to be quarantined.
Well, Pepto-Bismol will clear that up. I mean, just chug some Pepto-Bismol. I mean,
what I really need is antibiotics. But if I take any more antibiotics this decade, I will probably die of a urinary tract infection.
Okay, omeprazole, that will help you.
Okay. Jeremy, check your email and just tell me if you got it. You don't have to bring it up right now because we're in the middle of this. But I do want to plug this before I go.
Are you going?
I'm not saying I'm going. I'm saying I want to make sure this all happens before I go.
Okay. Well, let's try to get through this list. Next one, The Drive-Through Crematorium by Joni Basoff. I think that's John Basoff. I can't read. Bring it up bigger.
I have read that. Yeah.
I haven't read it. I guess it's a debut novel.
Yeah, and you know what it is? It's a clear takeoff on The Trial by Kafka. It's Kafkaesque, it hits all those familiar notes. And yes, it's entertaining, but it doesn't really tread any new ground with it. It's just strictly like a pastiche of Kafka, type territory. And I think that eventually authors are going to have to go beyond this whole, hey, this ordinary guy finds himself in a strange situation where, nothing makes any sense and everything's contradictory and these strange forces are conspiring against him and it's somehow funny and ironic. It's all of those ingredients, except that there's a literal drive-through crematorium, if I recall. And it was probably better than Mousetrap is, if I were to read them side by side, honestly. But it still didn't really do anything new with the concept. So
can I describe the proto Bizarro author and the reason I think a lot of people get caught in this cycle?
Yeah.
There are Bizarro authors who generally come from a strong literary background, usually a master's degree or higher in literature, English, and are often college professors and have often written multiple 100,000+ word novels that have been rejected for decades by publishers and agents. They somehow stumble across Bizarro and read a brief description of what Bizarro is once, get the idea to do this same weird novel that you're describing because of the only literary influences that they know of that are slightly weird, and then they write. They believe they get this aha moment where they think this I'll slum it in this shitty little amateurish Bizarro genre by writing the most brilliant literary novel they've ever seen because I'm so well educated. and I'll drop this book into the laps of these lowly bizarros, and that will get my foot in the door, and I will have one published credit. Then those dastardly agents will have to take me seriously, and my 400,000 word novel will finally see the light of day. And that's where I think you see a lot of these guys when you read these books, and you're just finding the same cliche weirdness with from the same inspirations over and over and over again. And this has haunted Bizarro for 20 years. You find all these aging college professors that want to get their foot in the door to get a publishing credit, and are often they don't even find themselves published in by major. They end up rejected by Eraserhead. Who published this Drive Through Crematorium?
That was
Eraserhead.
Eraserhead. Yeah, Eraserhead. Yeah.
And actually, it looks like I was wrong. This is like his 7th or 8th novel.
Oh yeah, he has written more. Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was a debut. But it looks like his prior books were like noir.
That's too bad, because I was really getting a comedy boner for the thought of this college professor rubbing his hands together and going, surely these genre writers have never heard of Kafka. I will blow their minds.
Exactly. They've never heard of Burroughs. This will be a cinch.
So now I guess we want to kind of speculate on who is going to win the best novel, right? Before we go to collection, right?
Well, who do you think?
Speculate. Like I said, my picks are a tie between Out America and Girl Like a Bomb as far as who I think is going to win.
Don't think of it in terms of merit and content. Think of it in terms of publisher politics, and then you'll have the best answer. Because
we have to go down the progressive stack. Which one of these authors is black?
I don't.
None. Which one of these authors is gay?
Didn't Danger Slater
go first on the stack?
What's that?
Hasn't Danger Slater already won it at least once?
Yes, he has. So he's not going to win.
Impossible. I think Impossible James may be a contender, but
he's not going to win it again.
I don't think Cody Goodfellow.
Maybe it's my own bias, but I'm gonna go with Girl Like a Bomb.
That's my gut instinct.
That's the correct.
Cody is too much of an old straight white man to win that. That would be
He's already won.
He's already won. He's already won as well.
He's won twice. All Monster Action, I think, and also for Strategies of a Dead, whatever.
Strategies Against Nature.
Yes, he's won
3 of the 5 are former Wonderland winners already.
Mousetrap is not going to win shit. I'm sorry. Drive Through Crematorium, the guy hasn't paid his dues enough yet. And Autumn Christian.
But wait, is he gay or is he black?
I don't know, but hang on though, because Autumn is a woman, okay? And
I know, but don't gay black guys get ahead of the stack, or does the female come first?
I'm pretty sure he's white, but here's
a straight white female before a gay black man. I don't think that would fly.
Autumn was passed over for best collection either last year or the year before, so it is her time now.
I believe you're right. I believe she's going to win because she's female, because I think all of the other authors on this list are straight white and older than 30.
But here's the irony. It's actually a good book, and she is an
No, that's okay. Author. Yeah, that's great. You're right. I have no complaints about Autumn's fiction, her commitment to the craft, or her passion for Bizarro. She is a weirdo who loves to write weird fucking shit, and she's great at. And she's not even 25 yet, is she?
Damn, really?
I think she's very young.
Wow.
I think she's 25 or younger, and she is an amazing writer. So I'm not saying she doesn't deserve it. I'm saying that we have to go by the progressive stack, not by merit.
Okay.
But aren't trans people on top of the progressive stack now?
Yeah, we don't have any. We don't have any. Well, it's specifically male to female. Female to male trans don't really get much love from the progressive community for whatever reason.
There's no person in the mix in that.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be a male to female in that mix either. You're right, though. Thank you for bringing that up. That's very, very observant.
Now I'm going to go ahead and say, as far as the collections, I haven't read a single one. I am only familiar vaguely with one, Whispers in the Ear of a Dreaming Ape, because it's published by Clash Fiction, where Christoph runs. And Christoph is publishing a lot of good stuff there now. He really is. But that's the only one I'm vaguely familiar with. So
is Sam Richard? Is that the Weird Punk imprint?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Owner?
Yeah.
I haven't read any of his fiction, but he's published me before, so he's cool.
Okay, so you're telling me that if I ever want to get a Nobel...
I read the title short story, To Wallow in Ash. It's actually a pretty heavy and depressing story, but I haven't read the rest of the collection.
What was that, Ann?
I was just wondering, are you telling me that if I want to win a Nobel Prize, I have to transition to male and then transition back to female?
That would be so brave and bold of you. I can't even describe how brave that would be.
I mean, I know you're being facetious, but getting my genitalia chopped up twice.
That would require some balls. Pun intended.
That would require some balls, but I'll have to get my made-up balls.
I mean, it is for the collection. For the collections, it is good to see that there's 2 Nihilism revised books on here.
Oh, really? Which ones?
To Wallow in Ash and Other Sorrows and Cyberpunk Zombie Jihad.
That's one thing that they have definitely went out of their way. They've gone out of their way to make sure to acknowledge a lot of the Bizarro small presses. That didn't happen for a long time. When my book Robom Apocalypse was not even nominated, but put on the preliminary ballot of just a Bizarro book that exists, I got a lot of emails asking me if Eraserhead Press had published that book, because they had never seen a book on the Wonderland preliminary ballot that wasn't an Eraserhead book or one of its imprints. And I didn't know what, I was just like, no, I put it out myself. It's self-published. And that was 2012. So it's actually been for several years now. They have acknowledged that kind of opened the door. And from that year on, they have done a pretty good job of putting all of the Bizarro small press stuff on the preliminary ballot. Save a few. I mean, there's a few things that they miss here and there that people complain about every year. In fact, I think that they go out of their way to exclude Grindhouse and Addle stuff? Did any of that make it on the?
Well, I mean, let's see. I don't know about that. I mean, see, Elaine is straight horror, so that wouldn't have been nominated. Well, most of Grindhouse is straight horror.
Carlton and Prunty wrote a book, co-wrote a book together. I mean,
long time ago, brother.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying, I think in recent years there might be some heat there. There might be something going on. They don't seem to get a lot of representation.
Huh.
Well,
while everyone else does.
Addle does publish some Bizarro, but they've gotten more like literary lately, so maybe that's why.
Maybe.
And Grindhouse is straight horror, so maybe that doesn't really apply.
I know one author in the collections, Betty Rocksteady. She wrote, didn't she write Spider Fetish or Spider?
Arachnophilia. That was a good.
Yeah.
That was a good book. I really liked her. The Writhing Sky too.
When she was promoting that Spider book, she did a contest on her blog for 500 word or less micro spider erotica stories, and and then she took submissions, and then each week she would pick a winner, and so I won one week with one of my spider erotica stories, but I didn't stop there. I continued to write spider erotica microfiction, and I submitted a story every single week. I think it went on 4 weeks, so I submitted 4 stories, and I ended up with the grand prize, which was an original piece of artwork, which was, I guess, some kind of spider babe. I don't remember what it was. Maybe she gave me an option of choosing from 4 or 5 different original pieces of fiction or pieces of art, but she ended up mailing me one of her own pieces of artwork, which was pretty cool. And I won her prestigious spider erotica microfiction award on her blog.
That's cool, man. Congratulations.
And she's since blocked me because I like Donald Trump.
I don't. No comment.
No comment.
She is a good writer. She is a good writer, but I haven't read In Dreams We Rot. I don't think I even have a copy of that. And I don't even know S.G. Murphy at all.
No.
Although I have seen that book around.
Now, even
People
though
are so terrible now.
Even though they don't have, they're not officially on the ballots, though, they did have some honorable mentions here. Flesh Molder's Love Song by Roland Blackburn. Laser House on the Prairie. Laser House on the Prairie by David Barbie, which I did read, and it was pretty fun. But not his usual, quality. Mummy of Canaan by Maxwell Bauman. I published Maxwell Bauman in a Surreal Grotesque magazine once or twice when I was co-editor, but I haven't read Mummy of Canaan. Grind Your Bones to Dust by Strange Your Buddy Nicholas Day, and Terror Mannequin by Douglas Hackle. Gregor put that on his end of the year list last year, didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did, yeah.
Doug is a super, super talented satirist.
Yeah. Hackle is great.
He doesn't get nearly the love that he deserves for his ability to tell humorous and absolutely bizarre fiction stories. He's great. He's one of the best. He's one of the best to ever do it.
And Pacifier by Ira Rat, which I have no idea about either this title or author.
I have that. I do have that. I've spoken with Ira Rat a few times. He actually is another author from Iowa.
Wait.
I'm actually. It's actually a pretty. It's kind of impressive. It gotta mention because it's a pretty tiny chapbook that only has like 4 stories in it.
Oh man, chapbook. That's another problem I got. Chapbooks, poetry, and what was the other thing that I didn't like? Well, anyway, what were you going to say, Ann?
Oh, I was going to say, could you repeat the name of the satirist who's really good? Because I want to read something funny and savage instead of most of the lame crap that we're supposed to pretend we like.
Okay.
Douglas Hackle.
Douglas Hackle.
Okay, he wrote Terror Mannequin, but in my opinion, the funniest thing he ever wrote was Hottest Gay Man Ever Killed in a Shark Attack.
He did Clown Tear Junkies, didn't he? Wasn't that his breakdown?
That was good too, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Do you have a Kindle, Ann? Or do you?
Well, it got stolen, but I use the app now.
The app?
Yeah. Which is fine, I just use it on my phone, so I get a lot more distraction that way.
What do you prefer, paperback or ebook?
I prefer either paperback or ebook to having to read it on my phone. Not that I'm bitter. Tonight is just Anna's fucking bitter night. Yeah, and then that guy, same guy who almost killed me, stole my Kindle, blah, 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 blah.
But, Hackle also had a short story collection called Does That Guy from Soul Asylum Does Winona Ryder still date that guy from Soul Asylum? That's the name of a collection.
I'm telling you, he's great. He does it better than almost anybody.
Yeah.
He has an understanding. He's a way with words and images that just it defies his nature. Like if you meet the guy, he's just a blue collar, gee golly shucks, how you doing? This is my family. He's got like 3 little kids. I guess they're not that little anymore. I met him 6 years ago. They're probably growing up now, but the guy is just so unassuming. He's not pretentious at all. And he just gets it. He just gets satire in a way that most people don't.
Wow.
So
wow.
We can't.
I'm done sucking his dick.
we don't really have any kind of informed consensus on who's going to win the collection, but I mean Betty Rock.
Well, again, who's gay? Who's
I don't know.
Male to female trans?
I don't even know that about them. I don't even know that who's what with that. But I know Betty Rocksteady is the most well known in that community out of those 5. And so I'm going to guess Betty Rocksteady's going to win. I don't know.
You're going to go 2 vaginas? 2 vaginas.
I'm going to say
Dual
Sam
vaginas.
Richards' book.
Dual wielding vaginas. That's a bold prediction.
What are you going to, you're going to go with Sam Richard?
Yeah.
Why is that?
I guess partially because it's the it's the only one I've read any from, but partially because I think maybe the fact that it does have this very heavy emotional weight to it, at least as far as I can tell, might sway people that way.
Has it been well received by a lot of readers that you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so it has a notoriety about it then, right?
Yeah.
Well, then that could be the one, yeah.
I don't know. S.G. Murphy sounds kind of like a made-up trans name.
Who knows? I was actually just looking at an S.G. Murphy book on Amazon with a weird spider machine looking thing. It was a pretty cool cover.
Bring it up.
Yeah, okay.
Did you get that email, by the way?
Yeah, I did. I'll pull it up before we go. Is it still showing?
Yeah, you got it. You got it.
You see that?
That looks pretty cool.
That's not a spider at all. No, I don't know what that is, but
That's not a spider. I mean, it kind of has a spidery kind of facial features.
Yeah.
Kind of in a skull way. Scroll down to the about the author. Let's see if this motherfucker cut his balls off.
About the author, you said, not
Yeah.
the synopsis.
You have to
Okay.
scroll
we don't
down
care
further.
about what the book's about.
No, go back.
Okay.
Scroll down
Scroll
further.
down.
You should know how this works.
I do. All this ad shit getting in my way. Okay,
Oh,
what? No.
Fungasm. Oh, Fungasm put that out. Okay.
Oh.
Okay,
So what
looks
am
like
I
they don't
looking-
really have a. Looks like they don't have it about the author.
Good. Yeah, so go ahead and do what you did before. Click on that and see if there's an about the author set up there. It doesn't look like it unless you scroll down.
It's taking me to all this other weird shit.
Yeah, it doesn't
No, I
look
guess they
like
don't
there's-
have an Amazon page set up.
So if it's Fungasm, that's what's his name, John
Skip.
Skip. So that means John Skip has two books at least. He's Autumn's editor too, isn't he? Is it
Oh,
is Autumn's book Fungasm?
no, Girl Like a Bomb was put out by Clash.
That's right. Yes.
Okay.
He used to be her publisher for for Ecstatic Inferno. Yeah.
Long enough to fuck her and then find the next young girl to fuck.
I don't know that it's fact, but I mean, I would imagine she was awfully taken with him. But it's really getting into stuff that's none of my business. So, it's cool. They're adult.
If it was me that was fucking girls I was publishing, I'd be a
Yeah.
toxic male fucking pig predator.
They would have your
John
head
Skip
on
can get away with it.
they would have your head on a pike, right? And Regina, you girls have been quiet lately. Was it something we said?
Well, Regina's been gone. Her AirPods ran out of
Oh,
batteries.
I'm
Oh, no,
I'm
wait, you're back?
here.
Yeah, she came
Oh,
back.
sorry.
No, I'm just being ADHD. I got interested in Douglas Hackle.
Oh, he's awesome. You're gonna have fun
Yeah.
with him.
Hey, do you want to pick let's give this book club thing another try, and not with Zach though, because he can't stick to it. But since you're the one that pushed the idea, and actually participated when you read the Chuck Palahniuk book, do you want to pick a theme for some kind of book club thing for January?
What Chuck Palahniuk book did you guys read?
Well, we tried. A lot of us didn't complete it, but Ben read Invention of Sound, I think, and Anne read Snuff and Invisible Monsters both. And I
got his most well, it's probably not his most recent anymore, but what the fuck was the name of that book? Something Day, not Transition Day, not
Adjustment Day.
Adjustment Day. I bought that and I started it, but I didn't get very far into it.
That's
So
pretty. It's not one of his better ones.
You want to pick
I
the
don't
theme
think so.
for next month, Ann? And we'll actually read whatever it is, or a theme or a certain book.
Okay.
Douglas Hackle. All Douglas Hackle fiction.
That it sounds like that wouldn't be a bad idea. I was I was about to ask somebody because I'm Gregor and I are supposed to be reading each other's books because for a while we were doing so that we can actually get some publicity for ourselves on our own show. We were all going to read each other's books, but I forgot which of Gregor's books I was supposed to read.
Hanover Block, I
Yeah,
guess.
I'm about to read Hanover Block myself. I'm excited about it.
Okay, well maybe we should both read that. But for January, so that you and I can discuss that.
I've got Hanover Block. I can play in that sandbox.
Yeah, I've got Hanover Block too.
Okay, but for January, what do we?
For January, why don't we do satire? Why don't we do?
Okay.
Let's do satire. Let's.
That's a broad field, so.
Well, how about either Sam Hackle or Tom Wolfe? Douglas Hackle. Yeah, sorry, I'm terrible with people's names. Douglas Hackle or Tom Wolfe, because I've really been enjoying the shit out of Tom Wolfe lately.
I'll try to get both. Yeah. Who else is up for it?
Sure.
Sure.
I highly recommend for anybody who's willing to read a longer book, but one that will go very quickly and too quickly. Bonfire of the Vanities. Holy shit, was that a good book?
I have that, so maybe I'll just start that.
That was an amazing book.
By the way, Strange.
Go ahead.
No, it's
I was going to say before we wrap up, we didn't do what we're reading, so.
Oh shit!
I don't know if you still want to. I don't know if you still want to do that since we lost a bunch of people.
How much do we want to go? Because I got a bunch of stuff I'm reading, but I didn't finish a lot. How much have we got left in the tank here?
And we'll save it for next time.
No, I'm cool. I've got a couple things I want to show off.
Yeah. Okay. You talking about that thing you sent me?
No. I'm saying as far as what we're reading right now.
Okay.
As far as what we're reading right now, I want to show off a couple things.
Yeah.
So,
you want me to put it on you, or do you want me to?
Yeah. Go ahead and put it on me.
Okay.
So I've been, obsessed with graphic novels lately because that's what I've been drawing and writing. So whatever art I'm obsessed with, I tend to also consume it endlessly and deconstruct it, break it apart, obsess over it. So I've shown you guys a bunch of the graphic novels I've been reading lately, but I got a couple more in the mail. This is from Antarctic Press. They're a pretty cool indie comic book publisher. This thing's called Teether by a dude named David Hutchinson. Check that cover out.
Yeah, that's sick.
And this is about some kind of cosmic horror. Look at the artwork, dude. The artwork is really
that's great.
Really cool. This is about. I'm not very far into it. Check this. This is page 1.
Whoa,
that's pretty cool.
That's
awesome. It's about this cosmic horror that attacks this little girl. Where's it at? It's pretty brutal. This cosmic horror attacks this little girl in the woods and bites her fucking face off.
Damn.
Jesus.
And then takes over her body, basically takes over her identity, and that's what you see there on the cover. That's the little girl with being possessed by that cosmic horror.
Whoa. Kind of Junji Ito almost, but
yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So that I'm reading that one. That's straight horror right there. And then I've been really into this YouTube channel called Cartoonist Kayfabe. These guys that are obsessed with wrestling and comic books. They have a show where they just they deconstruct, just geek out and deconstruct comic books from as far back as they can go. And one of the dudes is named Ed Piskor. He's an Eisner Award-winning cartoonist, and for Marvel, he recently released this gigantic. You can see how big it is. I have a very big head. This thing's like 16 inches tall. He released this series called X-Men Grand Design, where he literally goes back to the very, 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 very beginning of X-Men, and he attempts to take 8,000 issues of X-Men comics and reduce it down into 3 graphic novels, 3 trade paperbacks, and tell the entire chronological history of the X-Men. And he redraws it. I'm not saying it's not a compilation of all that art. This is Ed Piskor redrawing classic X-Men comics in a concise and linear manner in order to tell the entire history of the X-Men, which is a huge
X-Men the Abridged series.
Yeah, it's like X-Men Abridged and reimagined and redrawn by Ed Piskor.
Wow.
That'd be good for someone who's trying to just get into the X-Men.
Right.
Maybe like the movies and maybe wants to start with the comics.
Yep. But doesn't know where to begin and doesn't want to buy 8,000 issues.
That's Sam Keith.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that Sam Keith? Is that Sam Keith? Is that Sam Keith's art?
No, this is Ed Piskor's art.
That Jean Grey. Well, that Jean Grey on the back looks like a Sam Keith, like illustrated woman.
Here?
Yeah, that looks like Julie Winters a little bit, only with red hair. It looks like Sam Keith's art.
Maybe a little. Ed's got way more controlled lines if you really look at it.
Okay.
Sam goes crazy with his lines. He has a very loose style. Ed's got a little more of a rigid style.
Okay.
Similar. And I can see where you get that from all the cross hatching.
Yeah.
That's kind of Sam Keith-esque cross hatching that's all across there. But that's just two things I wanted to show off that I've got a million of these fucking things I'm reading.
Cool.
Okay. Wants to go next?
Go ahead, Ben.
Okay.
You can pull the cam off me.
Yeah, so one of the things I'm reading is Life is Elsewhere by Milan Kundera. I think that's how you pronounce it. Kundera. It's basically it's a novel about the life of a Czech poet who was born not long before World War II. And I'm really enjoying it so far. I especially like the section I just finished, which was about his adolescence. It's really like one of the best portrayals of like the horribly awkward experience of being a teenage boy that I've read. Like his failed relationships, his aspirations, especially his political aspirations, his attempts at becoming a poet, like writing Juvenilia and thinking it's the greatest thing at the time, but then getting that smacked down when someone who knows better actually reads it. I think it's a really great book so far. I'm a little over halfway done with that one.
Have you read The Unbearable Lightness of Being?
No, but I do have that on my shelf, so I'll probably get to that sooner than later.
Yeah, that's good.
This is one of his earlier books. I think this was his second one. So I also read a book called Desert by Anonymous. It's a anarchist theory book. It has basically, I'd say, two theses of it. One, a belief that there will never be any kind of worldwide revolution, and advocates instead for various forms of insurrection, mutual aid, and resistance. And it also goes into how climate change is very likely unstoppable at this point and will likely be worse than mostly anticipated. But it also goes into ways of how, if it does happen, ways to survive in a post-climate change world by looking at like nomadic societies and so forth. It's in some ways it's very
is it going to happen in 10 years like we've been told for the last 60 years?
They do kind of go into how some of the predictions have failed, but they do show like ways that it has been impacted. The problem is both America and Europe are largely temperate areas, so it doesn't hit as hard in those areas.
Well, I mean, we do live on a dynamic planet, and it is going to change. It obviously has changed tremendously over time. So that's just a fact of life. I mean, I often marvel at the amount of money and infrastructure that's been put into coastal cities, and the amount of millions of people that live in coastal cities, knowing that even without the the globalist orchestrated quote unquote climate change TM, the corporate climate change, the climate does change, the geography does change, and these coastal cities are not going to be there forever.
Well, no, they're not. And I mean, the person who wrote this, obviously they're anonymous, but they have a very heavy skepticism of industrial society itself, sort of in the vein of Ted Kaczynski.
I was going to say it's Ted Kaczynski with a fucking pen name.
They actually don't cite Kaczynski at any point, but I think it's a pretty fascinating book if you're interested in either anarchism or the issue of climate change. Let's see. And today,
is it fiction or is it nonfiction?
It's nonfiction, and you can find it for free on anarchistlibrary.org.
Or you don't like money.
No,
we don't like profit.
Exactly, profit is bad. That's why the books that I self-publish are in anti-copyright. But today I also started reading Sea of Glass by Rebecca, I think Gardenson is the last name. That pull it up for me to actually see.
I bet Ben wrote it.
Type in Rebecca.
Ben, I bet you wrote that. I said, I bet you wrote that.
I wish I did. I wish I was, that smart and patient to write a scholarly book.
Gransden, Rebecca Gransden.
Yeah, Gransden. It's that's pretty cool. It's a surrealist. Yeah, definitely. It's kind of a surrealist book. It's about this guy who's a janitor in a skyscraper, and there's like a weird accident outside of the skyscraper, so he's forced to go in through the front rather than the back like he usually does. And going in through the front, he realizes he doesn't recognize anything in the building. So it's basically his quest to get out. And, he runs into a lot of weird things like an auditorium where there's like a weird show going on. Like he meets someone who's had their torso severed from the waist down, but they're still alive somehow.
Damn.
It's a very, very colorful, very like surrealist in the classic sense kind of book. And I am definitely enjoying it so far. Yeah, I definitely recommend it so far. I'm only like, I'm not even like a quarter of the way through, but I like it a lot.
Wow. I'm glad to know about that because that sounds like it's a lot of fun.
So yeah, that's what I've been reading.
What about girls? Which one of you has something to say?
I just read Sam Pink's Person, which that's literally been on my reading list for like 10, 11 years since high school. And I really enjoyed it, really loved it. Thought it was like, a really good book just about depression, really. And I found it to be like the most relatable stream of consciousness I think I probably ever read. I definitely felt the human brain's workings coming out very succinctly in this book. So it was really interesting. Really enjoyed it. And then I am rereading, which is rare for me, but this is actually a reread I've meant to read for years, Apathy and Other Small Victories by Paul Nealon, who I went to add like a quote from the book to my Goodreads page for it, and I happened to see that maybe like even this week he seems to have released information about another book that he's got coming out finally, so I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, that's a really good book. I got that from the library and I had a lot of fun reading that.
It's a fun book.
Yeah, I read an excerpt from his next one. I can't remember what it was called, but I'm pretty sure it was about like a kid like shitting himself at camp, the excerpt of the book, and it was really funny. But for some reason, he just never released anything else.
Huh. Yeah, I really like his work. He's a really funny guy, and honestly, this is one of the funniest books I've probably ever read, which is why I'm, coming back to read it. I also read it when I was a senior in high school. I just remember reading it in the art room and just laughing my ass off. It's a really funny book, and I'm enjoying my reread of it and taking more. I think that's how you know that a book is good, is that when you, even if it's just comedy, you take more from it every time. I think that says a lot.
Yeah, I think I picked it up expecting it to be a short story collection because, Apathy and Other Small Victories, but
Yeah.
you know, that is a good title, and like I said, I do really hope he releases another book because he's one of those promising authors who, for some reason, just couldn't get a second one out.
Yeah, no, I hope that he does get this next one out. It looks like it was slated for June of 2021, so I'm excited for it, very interested in it. It's also a noir. I feel like Apathy and Other Small Victories is a noir.
Yeah, it kind of is like a comedy noir.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of The Big Lebowski, actually. And so
reminds
I
me
really
a little bit of what's his name? The guy that wrote Generation X, Douglas Copeland.
okay. I don't think I've actually read any Douglas Copeland. Maybe I should. Is Generation X a good one to start with him?
I actually haven't read Generation X. I've read Eleanor Rigby, which I thought was okay.
Okay, interesting.
Eleanor Rigby? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Like the Beatles song.
Yeah.
So it's okay. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and then as usual, I've got an Elizabeth Bedlam on my list, which I've been taking for. I've just got a lot going on in my personal life that's been keeping me from getting to reading and writing. But I'm about halfway through Dead When We Met, which is a really good novella so far, and it's about like a female necrophiliac and this skull that she is gifted by the weird boy next door. And it's really it's a fun book. I'm enjoying it. It's great. And I love her covers. She does some of the best covers, man. You just can't beat it. And
I have a feeling she's going to really disturb me when I finally read one of hers, because I read the Hillary books. I forget by Angel Jalique, and I try to block them out that I ever read them. Have you heard of those?
No, I haven't. I'm interested though.
The Hillary novels by Angel Jalique. They're horrible. Zach was traumatized by the first one because he took it up on a dare, and he feels the same way. He was traumatized by it just like I was.
That's hilarious. Well, I would recommend when you start with Bedlam, start with either Hello, Old Friend or Hogshead. Hello, Old Friend is my favorite of hers, probably still. They're all really good and really unique and really creative, and she is just a genius person, and I love her work so much. But Hello, Old Friend is just like such a good book. It's such an interesting concept, and it's funny you brought up House of Leaves earlier, but this book somehow it's not formatted in a different way or anything like that, but there's something about the vibration of the story, for lack of a better word, that really is along a similar strain to House of Leaves somehow. One doesn't have anything to do with the other. In fact, if anything, it's a little bit like The Ring almost. But it's such a good book. I love this story, and I love all of her stories. So if you want something shorter, Hello, Old Friend. If you want something a little bit longer, do Hogshead. That one's a little bit more of an energy investment, I feel like, because it's so, like, it's really brooding. Hello, Old Friend is more of like a cosmic horror mystery type thing.
Cool. And you okay?
Yeah. I'm just the book that I'm reading isn't all that exciting. It's called Predisposed: Liberals, Conservatives, and the Biology of Political Differences, because I'm trying to write a series on the biology of political differences and the irony of the fact that people may very well be stabbing each other right now, for all I know, over a difference that's basically no more of a choice than your hair or your eye color. But there's a lot of reading to do, and a lot of it is not very funny at all, even though it tries to be funny.
Mm-hmm. Sounds very dry. I mean,
yeah, I'm trying to make it entertaining for the people who read what I write, but the stuff that I have to read is painfully unfunny. I wish they would just stop trying to be funny, honestly.
Well, I only have one book to talk about this week because I just started so many more than I can handle while still being smack dab in the middle of like 20 others. It's insane the amount of books that I try to, devote time to every week now. It should not be attempted even, but I do it anyway. So this is the only book I finished this week that I can recall. It's called The Light Jar by Lisa Thompson. And this kid named Nate and his mom flee, to escape from the evil stepfather who's abusive and plays mind games. He's basically a walking cliche. And they go to this like abandoned cottage in the middle of nowhere to get away. And I mean, there's like the sofa in the living room is all torn to pieces, and there's a chicken walking across it, and it laid eggs there. I mean, the whole place is a total dump. The mom starts to fix everything up, and she even cooks the eggs like into an omelet for him, because she's desperate to make this living situation work until she can get back on her feet and support her son. Then she goes to this grocery store and never comes back. And so for days and nights and almost a week, he's left to fend to himself, and he meets this girl who's who's on a scavenger hunt in the woods. And also his imaginary friend, Sam, pops back up after several years of being gone. And he's like, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "You wanted me here. I'm your imaginary friend, This was published by Scholastic. So this is probably out of my age bracket, to be honest. But this, a good synopsis I'll never turn down. And so I read it anyway, just to keep in touch with that, inner child, I guess, as gay as that sounds. But I liked it, and I felt like she could have gone farther with some of the premise that she had. So I was close to giving it 5 stars until the end, but it wasn't necessarily a bad ending. It just could have been better. And so, Scholastic, they still know how to publish good stuff for, young kids without talking down to them. And, it leaves enough for adults to chew on too. So, yeah, I liked it. Next week, I'll probably have a shitload of stuff to talk about. But this week, this is the only one I got finished. And so that's it for me on that end. Strange. I'm starting to lose my voice again. And so I'm going to pull up this that you wanted me to pull up. Is there anything I need to know before I present it?
I sent you a second email. Pull that picture up first.
Gotcha. You want that first?
Cover. Yeah, the second picture I sent you is the cover.
All right. You believe we've gone over 6 hours?
I can believe it. You're a long-winded motherfucker.
What's the difference between this and a 10-hour stream, my friend?
Right. This is like preparation.
A 10-hour stream is 4 more hours. Duh.
A 10-hour stream is Jeremy finished 2 more books in a week.
So you want me to run the latest one first, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Holy shit.
What's wrong?
Oh, I just made the mistake of looking at the news.
Don't do it. Don't tell me. I don't want to know.
All right, so this is the cover of the comic I'm working on right now. It's called Rocco and Sasparilla's Sickness Time Story.
That's great.
It's a free Christmas comic that I'm giving away here in about a week, maybe closer to Christmas, maybe even on Christmas Eve. I'll release this as a PDF. It's a 30-page black and white comic book featuring my characters, Sarsaparilla the Weed Witch, her little minion Rocco, and Strangeville Santa Claus. And they first appeared in the feature film I directed in 2010 called Nixon and Hogan Smoke Christmas. Sarsaparilla is the main villain of that film. And then a few years later, I wrote a novella called The Witch Who Fucked Christmas, which was the return of Sarsaparilla trying to fuck the Christmas powers out of Santa's anus once again. And for a third time now, Sarsaparilla has appeared and attacked Santa Claus. And in this, now it's a third medium. I've done a film, I've done a novella, and now a comic book. This is the first comic book appearance of Sarsaparilla and Rocco. And so I've been, if you follow me on Facebook.com/Kevin Strange, I've been doing daily live streams for about an hour where I've taken you through the entire process from the thumbnails, the pencils, the inks, the lettering, and now the finishing processes of this comic book. You can watch it made from scratch from the very first concept. On December 1st, I started writing and thumbnailing this comic, and it'll be completely finished, 30 pages, black and white, in time for Christmas, and it's going to be absolutely free as a PDF download on kevinthestrange.com. That second picture I sent you is one of the interior pages from the book. It's like page 4 or 5.
You want me to go to it?
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Everything's my cognitive powers have reduced. So hang on, give me 1 second. I'm losing cognitive function. Okay, is that it? That's it. We got it right.
Yep.
It's up.
Can you zoom in on it any?
I can a little.
Yeah, there we go. So this is just an interior page. This kind of gives you an idea. Can you pull it down so that first panel is? I'm sorry. Pull it up so that first panel is visible. There you go. So we've got Rocco, and Sarsaparilla is, as usual, butt raping Santa Claus. It's what she's very obsessed with doing this, and that's actually I think that's what Santa talks about here in the third panel. What the fuck is your obsession with Christmas, lady? You scroll down a little bit. You can see he says, "You're a fucking weed witch. Why don't you smoke some dope and leave me the fuck alone?" This is the third time now he's had to encounter this crazy lady and her 14-inch wang, her magic fucking weed dick. So this is kind of what you can expect of the interiors. You scroll down a little bit more, you can see another image of Sarsaparilla there. So that's my art style. It's real cartoony, and I've really been challenging myself with this black and white comic because I've never done black and white before. I've always worked in color, so having to tell the entire story in just monochrome, black and white is pretty difficult actually. It's upping my inking skills. The last few projects I've done, I've relied really heavily on the colors. I've done minimal inking and maximum color theory. So doing this project in black and white has really challenged me to just, obviously everything is ink. All it is ink. So it's pushed my boundaries as an artist, and I think leveled me up a little bit and increased my my abilities at least somewhat. I'm not a very good cartoonist, but I'm getting better. And doing projects like these challenge me and help me grow as a cartoonist. I've only really been working on art for about 2 years. So this is the daily obsession for 2 years will get you about this far.
That's cool, man. Really cool.
So yeah, that'll be free on Christmas Eve or maybe a couple days before on my website, and you can watch all those behind the scenes videos too over on Facebook if you want. I've been uploading them on YouTube also, youtube.com/KevinStrange. But I haven't been shooting them on YouTube. I've been shooting them going live on Facebook. That's where the majority of the fan base is. I don't have a large YouTube following like Jeremy Maddox does here.
Huge what? Huge what?
Huge fan following like you do here.
Oh no, I don't have. I'm not fan. It's impossible for me to have fans.
I don't know. I'm a pretty big fan.
Nah, get out of here.
Jeremy, I know you could give a fuck less about my comic book career, but do you have any questions about what's going on here? Do you have any questions about this comic book?
I do.
You just want me to write another novel?
Regina, well, yeah, but Regina has a question.
Sure.
Do I? Oh no, I just think it's great. I think it's it looks fucking hilarious, and I think it's really well inked. And I'm impressed that this is only 2 years of daily practice, because this is really good for 2 years, man. I like your style. It's very very distinct.
You have grown as an artist, no doubt. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I better. It's been about, I don't know, 3,000 to 4,000 hours of practice, I would say. And they say, of course, they tell you 10,000 will get you where you want to be. So I'm almost halfway there.
What is it they say? How many hours? You spend how many hours, and you're a master or a professional?
About 10,000 hours. Yeah.
Yeah, it's 10,000.
that means you're an expert when you have done something for 10,000 hours, hypothetically.
Right.
Okay.
It's not an exact science. It's just if you spend that much time poring over any skill, you'll get pretty decent at it in about 10,000 hours.
Yeah.
So I've always, my whole life I've drawn, but I never got very good, and I never even mastered any of the fundamentals of it. And I went on to other things: screenwriting, film directing, acting, novel writing, obviously. And I got to a point in my career where I had become such a pariah because of my social and political beliefs that I had nowhere else. I had no further lower I could go. I had become such a cancer on the face of the art community that I was like, well, I literally have nothing to lose, so I'm just going to put the brakes on everything else and start drawing comics, because that's my original love as a little kid. It's all I wanted to do was draw comics. I gave up on it as I got older, and so I'm coming back around to it now. But I was never even close to this. Like this that I'm doing here, when I look at it, I'm like, I can't even believe it's me. I'm not saying it's great. I'm just saying I can't believe I've come to this point that I can even do things this well, this convincing. I can't believe I can convince people that I've come this far.
That's cool. That's a good feeling.
That's cool. Man.
You girls, you have anything else to say before we shut this thing down, put the chairs on the tables, and turn out the lights?
Nope, just that I'm tired.
Thanks for coming back, Regina. You have really taken to this like really naturally. I'm surprised.
Well, it's really fun to be here, and it's like my husband, for I guess lack of a simpler term, and I both are, for various reasons, immunocompromised effectively. So we really can't be going outside, and so really the only social interaction I have is over Zoom or Skype or whatever. So this is a nice opportunity to really reach out and talk to people and get to meet other great, writers and artists. And it was great having Derek McCormick on. What an interesting guy. So, I mean, this is just, this is a great fun format, and it's an interesting way to meet a lot of people. And I'll tell you what, I did actually have a thought on a guest. I haven't talked to him much myself, but I do know this fellow through.
You want to tell me through private message so we don't?
Yeah, I can, but it's somebody who's into poetry a little bit, but it's more modern poetry.
Okay. It's okay. No one's perfect. Okay, so I'm glad that this is working for you in that regard. And do you have anything to check out with?
Well, I'm real tired, but I'm so tired that my mind's doing obsessive things. Like I keep going back to, you mentioned color theory in your comics. Is there some sort of calculus that will tell me what colors make it more satisfying?
How many fingers
The
do you have?
color red is not math, and now don't make right the hand come back in here and tell you again. The color red is not math.
Have you been counting your fingers to make sure you still have 5 on each one?
No, you do not have 5 fingers. You what was it he said? What was he said? You do not have 5 fingers.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, I think this conversation is about over.
You have individual units that equal 5. You're just showing me a phone screen. What?
But I really do want to know whether there is a kind of math that can tell me what color you need to wear to make raping Santa Claus the best experience it can possibly be.
Well, I mean, I took all the color out
black
of it.
and white.
Yeah, apparently black and white is the. I'm gonna color it and release it as a one-shot floppy comic later, but it's black and white for the purposes of printing at home and doing like a mini comic, a mini like zine run of it. But I mean, in the film, she rapes Santa Claus in a glowing halo of reds and violets, if I remember correctly. That's how we set the scene. We had upside down Christmas trees instead of crosses. We had upside down Christmas trees. and we had Christmas stars in the shapes of pentagrams, and then we lit the background in red, and then we threw like a violet over their bodies as I added pooping and farting noises to the entire scene. It's really classy scene. It's actually free on YouTube if you want to watch it. Nixon and Hogan Smoke Christmas, free on YouTube.
Wow. What percentage
feature
of your life would you say you've spent thinking about a stoned witch raping Santa Claus?
I mean, I consider myself I consider myself a butthole humorist. So a very large portion of my life has been spent thinking about the human anus.
He's a scholar in the field of buttholeology.
Absolutely. If I'm remembered for anything when I'm gone, it's somebody should just remember me as that guy was really excited about buttholes.
How about
They
this?
should just put like an anus on your headstone.
Exactly. If there's an anus on my headstone, that would be perfect.
It'll have
It would
multiple
encapsulate
layers.
my entire experience.
How about this? Human centipede, the next generation.
We don't need any more human centipede shit.
I disagree.
I really like the second one. I thought the second one was the masterpiece. I thought that it really captured the depravity, and it was in black and white. So maybe I just have a thing for ultra extreme violence in black and white.
I really didn't like the second or the third one.
I did not like
both
the
of them
third
felt
one.
like
The third
both
one
of them felt like
was just goofy fun, but I thought the second one was brilliant.
I don't know.
Both
Number
of those
three
just
was
felt
almost-
like Tom Six being like, "Oh, wasn't the human centipede so fucking deep and fucking
no,
transgressive?" No,
can't
fuck
make
off. It
anything-
wasn't.
You can't turn that into some political statement. I'm sorry. I
It's
know
not political. It's him saying, "Oh, isn't the human centipede so fucking deep and transgressive? Isn't it? It's so fucking like the most extreme arts you can." No, it wasn't. It was a splatter film.
it's
I
all.
think the next person who uses the word transgressive to describe their own art should be shoved into a garbage dumpster and sealed in there until they repent.
Well, I love that transgressive is really it's just a term for pop culture now. There is no transgressivism is just what is morally acceptable by the majority of Westerners.
Well, anything that
True transgression is like the nuclear is like a Christian nuclear family.
Yeah, anything that
Ow.
actually is transgressive will never be seen because it will be
Right.
boycotted or soft boycotted. But
So true.
and yet everything calls itself transgressive.
Yeah, but the real stuff is out there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the thing is that it's you know you have to be able to tell real transgressive fiction from stuff that's marketed as being like edgy. And I talked a little bit a couple of episodes ago about how I feel like transgressive fiction as a genre has kind of really faded into more things like splatterpunk and kind of this variant transgressive fiction gutter punk where it's like mostly about impoverished young people, kind of in the vein of Hubert Selby Jr., but with, you know, more of a 21st century twist. And it's still a form of transgressive fiction, I would say, but it's also, at the same time, yes, you're right, it's paradoxical because that is coming to represent the majority of the American experience for a lot of young people. So I think that it's difficult to really say really what transgressive fiction is. And at this point, you know, the temptation becomes clear to make it kind of overbroad because there are so many, you know, I would say bizarro fiction is certainly a form of avant-garde transgressive fiction. You know, extreme horror is certainly transgressive fiction. So all the interesting genres and like the horror erotica stuff that Elizabeth Bedlam and I do, you know, I think these things are all forms of transgressive fiction. So it's, you know, here's
the thing. You can't let Bizarro have absolute control of what transgression is because they gatekeep the fuck out of it. Anything that they
never did.
Huh?
They never had control over what transgressive is.
Probably right. But they do gatekeep quite a bit. And so the deal is that you want to look for people who have been picked over and rejected, so you can get the full picture of what's out there, because there are so many good authors and stories that were passed over by, say, Eraserhead Press or Fungasm or Lazy Fascist or whatever, and they're like they do things that you never see in those other presses, that have their own style. So yeah, definitely don't ever let yourself be confined to reading one kind of press or one kind of style. But let's see, Mother Maggot, I would consider that. Are you okay?
Yeah, I just my scarf yanked my phone off the counter.
Mother Maggot, I wonder if you would consider that the kind of transgressive fiction that is marketed and as being edgy and being trying too hard, or if that is legitimate. I mean, every sentence is filled with absolute filth. Do you think it's trying too hard, or it hits the right thing?
I think it is more an example of extreme horror transgressive fiction, and extreme horror is also its own genre with its own tropes. Like you were asking me about Aaron Beauregard, and so it's like these authors write really severe, really intensely violent stuff, just crazy violence every page. So Mother Maggot is not an isolated case, I think. There's an interesting group on Facebook called Splatter Club, and they definitely have some really interesting book selections. And there's some shocking stuff out there on the market in this genre. One of them is Wolfie. I'm gonna say it was the Virgin by Wolf. Come on, yeah, Wolf. Okay, so it's WOL-VRIEY.
Oh yeah, we interviewed him on here. We talked to him.
Did you really?
Wolverine's he's a pretty famous Bizarro.
Yeah.
In the genre, everyone knows Wolverine.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I actually read all of the Brain Chew novels that he wrote, and I actually suggested that he get with Chris Rufty and they do like a Brain Chew versus Pillowface crossover. I don't think it would ever happen, because they're too different. But I mean, in my dreams, I can see Brain Chew versus Pillowface, and it would just be the most awesome monster versus monster fight, so
that's funny. Yeah, so I feel like, just by virtue of that, I feel like extreme horror and bizarro fiction have a lot of crossover. And the same thing, it's
sure.
all of these
they're kind
things
of like I like to say that they're kissing cousins.
Yeah. I mean, the Eraserhead's biggest sister press is Deadite Press that releases extreme horror, so they have they've always been incestuous in that way. And those are the two main genres that I write in. When I write fiction, I write extreme horror and bizarro. Those are the two. They often go hand in hand.
Yeah.
All right. So I think we left it all on the stage here, folks. Are we ready to get out of here?
My last word is suck dick, rape Santa. Like and share this. Your head is now the quiet place. Bye.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks
I'm gonna
to
duck out.
Echo time.
Thanks to J. Peter W. Thanks to Derek McCormick, Chris Lesko, Zach and Ben, obviously, Gregor, obviously, and obviously Regina, who's doing a great job. Strange, welcome back. It's good to be back on the same wavelength somewhat again, man. I really mean that. And let's see, who else? Chad Lutsky, thanks to him for coming on. Dream, I have no idea who you are or were, and if you were just a really bad troll, but thanks for wasting 3 seconds of my time. Did I miss anybody whatsoever?
I can't remember. I can barely
if there
remember
is,
my
then
cat
they'll
name.
forgive us for our heads being full of fuck right now.
It's insane how many people were on this thing, but I appreciated all of them. So thanks, guys, and have a good night. Get what little sleep you can.
Yep.